Busy day today.
Oh my God.
Jeez. Louise. All right, I'm just going to kick it off. All right. And heroes on set. Dun, 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 dun,
Heroes.
Heroes.
On set.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Heroes on Set, the show for digital content creators of all kinds. Today, I have a very special guest. Justin Green, creative director of Neato, is joining me. And Justin is a hero to me.
Whoa.
Because we just recently worked on set for some marketing videos for Neato, the company we work for. And Justin was the man in terms of getting a location for us, getting some participants from his actor friends to help us out, helping just kind of make sure that the production team was on the right page and, you know, we were getting what we need. And also adding a little comic relief to the show was
nonstop
great.
talking.
So you are a hero to me, and that's why you're on Heroes on Set. So welcome, Justin.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. So you're also an interesting fellow because you do a lot of things related to content, entertainment, the whole world that we are in. So I want to get into a bit about your background and talk a little bit about some of the amazing things you do. As I mentioned, he's a creative director. He also runs his own improv theater group, which is really, really cool. So we want to get into that. But I think I want to kind of get your... This is heroes is the kind of the theme. So we got to...
Sure.
We got to get into your origin story, right? So
Okay.
Tell me a bit about...
Both my parents were murdered.
Oh, God.
You should definitely edit that out.
So yeah, I want to talk a little bit about your background, your origin story, kind of, and you're not. We're here located here in Vegas.
Yeah.
But you're not originally from Vegas, so maybe we could start with what inspired you or motivated you to come here and kind of start your journey here in Vegas.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm from Buffalo, New York.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.
No, I'm an Eagles fan.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
There you go.
Which is where I grew up. And I wouldn't call of myself like a very like artistic person like growing up. Like I definitely like performed a lot. Like that's where I kind of got like I guess my artistic expression out. But I never like pictured myself, I should say, having a like creative career or whatever. I was going to school. I really wanted to be a science teacher, but then when it came time to like apply for colleges, I was studying biomedical engineering. Like that's what I got accepted to do. And I was so sure, like I actually wanted to create like artificial organs. Like that was like,
oh wow.
Yeah. Oh my God. Those people who do it super smart. It was not me. I did really bad in basically all of my like classes that were like oriented around my major. Except for the engineering thinking ones. Like once I had to like learn to like creative problem solve, like I was actually really good at those classes.
You are a great problem solver.
Thank you. But anyone that was like, do this formula to like change this chemical to this chemical, I was like, no, absolutely not. I will not do that. And so I ended up actually sort of like dropping out my like sophomore going into my junior year. And I was like, I need to like think of like what I want to do instead. And at the time I was really into like very passionate about video games. Like I think they're like really great for artistic expression and also like really great like storytelling devices. I think you can like learn a lot from playing a video game. Just because you have to like actively play it, like you can't just sort of like
it's not a passive experience.
Exactly.
Like a movie, right?
Exactly. So I was like, I want to like highlight like marginalized communities through storytelling, through video games. Like that was my goal. And so I moved here to start like game art and design. I was learning that as I was at the Art Institute of Las Vegas, and that was my major. And at the same time, like I knew I wanted to start a theater here, like a theater group. And so I was running Comedy Sports, which is the theater group that I currently run through a theater that I help manage called Mom's Basement Theater. And Comedy Sports is a national organization, international organization spread across the U.S. and in Manchester, UK. And yeah, right. Funnies for everyone.
That's right.
And so this was just like a really great place. Like I had my grandparents out here, so I had like a free place to crash for a little bit, and I could like build my like artistic career or my artistic learning, I guess, while I was building the theater. And so from that, I kind of realized like I needed someone to create the graphics to market my theater. Like when you run a business, you have to like tell people about that business.
It helps.
Which is business 101. And so like I started doing all the graphic design for our company and like a lot of the social media management. And slowly but surely like kind of fell into graphic design. And then when the pandemic hit, I was freelancing like full time.
Wow.
Yeah. And just like trying to absorb and learn a lot. And I was kind of surrounded by great friends who did graphic design. And so just kind of like started me on the path that I am now.
Wow. So you're not like classically trained or as a graphic designer, you kind of picked it up.
Yeah, so
your own,
a lot of the software, like the Adobe Suite and stuff like that, like a lot of the tools that I was using for game art and design. So I had like a technical knowledge of how to use those skills or use those softwares, but not in the necessarily the same application that like I use them today as a graphic designer. Like I was familiar with the programs, but different ways of using them than like the ways that I use them now.
Sure.
And so like but I would say like not classically trained as a graphic designer, definitely like got my learning on the streets.
The streets, the mean streets. What keeps it real.
Yeah.
But what were some of the most helpful things to sort of, advance your learning or like to address that learning curve of like what a real graphic designer needs to know, needs to be able to do?
Sure. That's a great question. I think the number one thing is to just like, I guess, like do the work. So the thing that like grew my skills the fastest was starting to freelance full time, right? Because if it's if you want to pursue it like as a hobby, totally cool. Like you can kind of learn on your own. But I think throwing yourself into projects that have deadlines and like people depending on you and those sorts of like factors make like automatically kind of put you in a pressure cooker situation where you kind of have to just like figure it out or learn. And so just doing that repeatedly, like you automatically have to grow your skills a lot faster than you were if there was no sort of like external factor sort of depending on you.
Sure.
So I think that kind of like sped it up the fastest. And then it was like being surrounded by like my roommate and best friend. Shout out Tanya. She was a graphic designer and like a project manager at the Cosmopolitan for a long time. So I was really like, she taught me a lot of what I learned. Chase Cates, who's actually our VP, and my like best friend, he was a graphic designer like way before I was. So he was also able to kind of like, I don't know, show me that you could be a graphic designer. To me, it didn't click in my head that people could do it until I saw people like around me doing it. So I think it's like surrounding yourself with like a strong network of people and also just like doing the work and not considering, right, like yourself not good enough to like do something. Like you kind of need to be in a situation where like you can execute, and also there's that pressure to execute kind of at the same time.
No, that makes total sense. Very similar to my background. Although I did go to film school.
Yeah. So like similar, but not
similar
at all.
But very different.
But better, some would say.
But I guess so. You were making art to promote your theater group.
Yeah.
How did you go about finding clients, like your freelance clients? Because I know that's something like when I started out, I was like, well, how do people get business?
Yeah, I feel like I'm about to sound like when you ask like a child of a rich person. I was like, how did your business get their start? You're like, I just put in a lot of work. And it was like clearly handed to them. So I got super lucky because through Tanya, we have a mutual friend. Her name's Jen, who has her own creative agency. And so when I was like sharpening my skills and getting my portfolio together, she was also looking for someone to start taking design work from her. So I immediately was connected to an agency that was able to like give me like, I would say anywhere between like 20 and 30 hours like a week just to kind of like keep working. You know what I mean?
Sure,
and through there, like this is actually a really great point too, though. Like I think I'm the type of person that is normally like not very like I don't ask when I need help or anything like that. But literally there's like people in your life right now who need graphic design. Like even if like everyone in their community or in their circle, I feel like has someone who would probably hire you for something like that. You know what I mean? It's just about like making the ask and then being open to like the response that you get. Because as soon as from there, like I started telling people like, oh, like I do graphic design. Like a lot of people that like just kind of came up to me and like asked, hey, can you do this? Can you do our website? Can you do this, event flyer or whatever? So yes, it was kind of like a very easy road for me to pursue, but I think it's also easier a lot of times than maybe some people think, but also like it can be really difficult. I also understand that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's like, like seeing what the opportunities are just around you, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like,
what are the lowest hanging fruit?
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I always tell like people that my friends and stuff like that, like I often feel like a goose that can lay golden eggs because like every business, every influencer, like pretty much everything needs a video these days.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's more a matter of just finding like who needs it most. And at this point, like who's willing to pay for the value of like really nicely produced videos.
Right.
But there's opportunities everywhere.
And it kind of like based on that, it kind of depends on what you're looking for. Like at the start, like this is not like, don't listen to me. This is maybe not great advice, but depending on who you are, like I was doing like jobs for a lot less than I probably would do now. You know what I mean? Like I was just like, any experience was like good experience from where I was at the time. So, you kind of have to be open to what the opportunities are and then decide for yourself. Like, is it worth it? Whether it's giving me like skill or a connection or money, especially in the like starting times. I feel like you kind of have to do that a little. You got to hustle a little bit more than when you're like a little bit more established. And then you kind of turn things down.
Yeah, totally. And I think, and it's also like when you're starting out, you're not as like confident in the value that you're giving in the work. So you're more willing to just be like, okay, I'll just do it for what, like any money seems great when you're starting out. And it's really just about the experience, actually more than the money, because if you just stay in it, keep improving, like that money does come. But you do need to also value yourself.
It's a constant like reassessing, honestly. Like even because that probably is the way like a lot of people get into it, is like, yeah, well, my friends need something, or like I know I have a connection to this business that needs something, and that's great. And also you're gonna have to start charging your family and charging your friends or charging the people who are like engaging you for your services. And that's also like a very valuable skill to learn, is like kind of like you're saying, like recognizing when you're worth something and then asking for what you're worth. Yeah,
definitely. And that's something like that I kind of learned way later than I probably should have. I went through a long period in my career of just like lowballing just to kind of, so I could get the business, but just like looking back, like, wow, there's a lot of money left on the table, I think.
Yeah.
But it's part of the learning thing,
I think it's nothing to like be upset about. You know what I mean? Like it's definitely like just, more knowledge for next time.
Yeah, exactly. So we now work here at Neato, which is within a creative department within an actual company, right?
Yeah.
So when you came here from the freelance world, what were some of the big differences in terms of like working in a creative agency basically versus being on your own as a freelancer?
Yeah. So I'm gonna like set the stage a little bit, but Neato, so we're an e-commerce accelerator. So we basically partner with brands and simplify e-commerce. And so like the whole company does a lot to simplify e-commerce, right? We handle like marketing, we handle creative, and there's also like brand management and our, business intelligence team and our operations team. So we're like a one-stop shop for anything you might need to sell online or in digital marketplaces. And so working in the creative department and coming from freelance in that specifically, I would say like the freelance world, like there was a lot more variety in the projects I was doing at the time. Like it was sometimes for web or events or like whatever it was, like there was just like a lot of stuff going on, but it was also like extremely unreliable, and it was very it was just me, you know what I mean? So the biggest things when I came in here was like working as part of a creative department. There was only myself, Chase, and one photographer and videographer at the time. NJ was doing both roles. Shout
out to NJ.
Shout out NJ. A lot of shout outs this episode.
Yeah.
But it was just the three of us. And so like we kind of had to like also learn, what we were meant to do here and how we could grow. And slowly but surely we expanded that whole department. Now we work for, there's, 10 of us in this creative department. And so I've been there kind of since the beginning of it becoming a department to like where it's at now. And so that growth has also been like really exciting to be part of.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's more like, it's nice kind of working alongside other creative people, kind of building that like team sort of sense, internally. And we were talking about this the other day, like the reason that I came to Neato really was to be around a team.
Yeah.
Like I was, I still operate Superhero Productions. We do similar thing, like kind of a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
We're kind of, we'll do a video game tournament, and then we'll do some social media, and then we'll do that. There's like a lot of variety, but same thing, like super unreliable.
Yeah.
Which can be really scary. Like, especially like in my case, I have like a family to take care of, and
right.
I kind of needed a certain level of stability, but I wanted to work with like a good growing company
right.
surrounded by good people. So that's why I found this opportunity. And yeah, like to see how much we've grown in just like the year or so that I've been here has been pretty incredible.
Yeah, I would say like, I especially going from freelance, I'm like fiercely independent, like wanna like no one can tell me what to do, like, and like setting my own hours, like all that stuff. I thought I would miss it a lot more than I do, but as we've grown, like I like having the reliable schedule. I like having like the friends and the team that I have here. Like the team in our department, I think, is what makes it so easy working for that. And I interview like everyone who kind of comes into this department, and so a lot of people are coming for the same reason. Like they've been freelancing for a while, but they're doing it alone, and they want to work as part of a team. Like it is highly collaborative, and so if that's something that you're interested in, then it does benefit you to kind of work with the team. And I imagine all production sets feel like that because you are working as part of a team for a lot of stuff like that. So
yeah, and being able to like learn from each other.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I think that was a big deficit for me as kind of being a one-man owner-operator of a production company. It was like really just me. I'd bring in contractors as needed, but like I didn't have a really awesome graphic designer. I was forced to do a lot of the graphics, and I'm not the best, graphic designer. So like
what?
Believe it or not, folks, I can fake a lot of cool stuff. Usually, but was using a lot of templates. Like I just didn't have that level of support really, or a knowledge base to know like what might elevate it further than what I could do on my own.
It's nice to have a team to exactly like elevate the work that you're doing. And it's like on the flip side, it's also nice to contribute to part of a team in something that you're really good at. Like it takes both of those things, I think, to really like thrive in this sort of environment.
Yeah. Yeah. And also like, getting back to like the stability thing, it's because we all still hustle too.
Yeah.
Like I still do, a lot of work with Superhero, and everybody kind of has their things that they're doing. And you're running an actor theater group. So we're all still doing like the stuff that we want to do. But I found for myself, and I'd be interested to get your take. It's like now I really can be a lot more choosy about the projects I want to do. And, I don't feel like I'm forced into taking on bad jobs because we have to meet a certain number by the end of the month or we're in trouble, sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I feel the exact same way. Like it's, I'm also like that person that like gets bored easily. Sure. That's probably why I do so much. But I think having like so much like, so much work here and then having like my theater, I'm able to kind of like separate it, silo it into like my 9 to 5 and just focus on my 9 to 5 stuff here and then my 5 to 9 stuff like after. And so like having a lot of things to like kind of choose from or like fill my time, I feel like also kind of keeps me happy.
Yeah, no, it's sort of like the best of both worlds. I feel like that we're lucky enough to be in.
Yeah. So,
so you came in again as a graphic designer and you quickly graduated up to art director.
Yeah.
Well, for those in the audience that don't know what that title is or does, can you explain kind of what you did in that role, how it was different than being a graphic designer?
Yeah. So I can talk through like, my experience at Neato, but when I got brought on, I was actually brought on as a production artist because Chase was the graphic designer at the time, or like the lead graphic designer. And so like a lot of us, we've grown, like our hierarchy has changed and our roles and needs have sort of, changed and stuff. But when I first got here, I was just kind of like doing the day-to-day graphic design work and mostly the reproduction. Like Chase was creating a design and I would like reproduce it or like, across the whole catalog of items our brands might have. And as we kind of grew and we hired another designer, I started to go more to that art director role, which was kind of what Chase was doing at the time. So I was coming up with like creative direction and managing the design team and really like leading the team of designers to kind of finish a project and coordinate their schedules. And then when I got promoted to creative director, it's essentially the same job like what I do now, but for the whole creative department. So not just for design, I'm helping oversee production, both video and photography, and making sure that all of us are meeting, the whole department's timelines.
Wow. Yeah. So you're overseeing everything under the creative umbrella. And so tell me a bit about what that's like. It seems like that might be overwhelming to some people, like being able to kind of survey everything that's going on and all the moving pieces and knowing that like at the end of the day, the job is to produce content that has a harmonious feel basically across like photos, design, videos and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot. And I think like, again, to mention it again, but like we have a really great team here. So like even from the top, like our VP Chase does a great job of like kind of setting expectations. And so we really work great at working together to coordinate all of the schedules. And then the leader of each department, so you know how you run video, our photography team, our design team, we're able to kind of meet and coordinate together, which I think is really helpful. Like we have a great communication system. So sometimes like, right, we unveiled our new quarterly calendar today, and it's like a lot of stuff. Like there is a lot of stuff.
My gosh,
like
yeah.
it's a lot to keep track of, and it's a lot to even think of to like put it all together and to make, right? But like you kind of just have to, I don't know, just do it. You know what I mean? And like envision it and then talk about it and communicate when things are working and when things aren't working. And I think getting into that sort of workflow has been really great for the whole creative department in general. Like we're all very communicative of like our needs and our wants and like what is working and what's not working. And I think that allows us to kind of plan better in the future. Like every time we do something like this, we're getting better and better at it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely. But what are some other things that you think, you know, make for a good graphic designer, a good sort of creative person that's trying to like make this their career, their profession?
Yeah,
what are
sure.
some traits that are like?
I think number one is like, I think clearly like you need great technical skill and whatever, you know, job or profession you're choosing, like being as good as you can at those skills is definitely going to be very helpful when you're pursuing that as a career. But on top of that, I think it's communication skills. I think it's the ability to collaborate. I think it's the ability to like both give and receive feedback. And I also think one of the biggest things is being able to be creative and like make art or whatever it is, even when you aren't inspired or don't want to. Like that's the difference between like when I was freelancing and when I wasn't. Like, yes, I could turn stuff down if I like wasn't in the mood or didn't need to be in the mood. But like here it's like every day, 9 to 5, 40 hours a week. Like you have to be in this mindset. So like there are times where everyone naturally like, you know, isn't as passionate about what they're working on, and you still got to deliver like to the high standard of quality that we always deliver in. So I think being able to create even when you don't want to is essential.
Yeah, well, I to me that's what makes you a professional, right?
Yeah.
Like a professional athlete, like may not feel like running today or something like that, but they have like they know that that's their profession. That's what is required.
Yeah,
so what do you do? But the interesting thing though is like, even defining what creativity is, right? And how to get into that creative zone. Are there any like rituals you do or anything that you like to have around you that like helps you be more creative or get into that mindset?
I think so. I think it's like, first of all, like me as a person, I'm just inspired by like people, like the why of what we're doing. So kind of keeping that in mind, or who we're trying to communicate with or who we're trying to talk to. I think keeping that in your back pocket helps deliver work like easily more designed for those people. And also like working with each other. Like I think we do a great job of like, you know, taking test photos and photography and letting that inspire design, or like coming up with design concepts and letting that inspire video. So like not creating in isolation, but collaborating with people, I think keeps me motivated. And then there's just like the little things where I always say like, if you're like looking at a blank like artboard in Illustrator or something and you don't know what to make, then you probably didn't do enough research. You know what I mean? Like it's like if you're like, for us, we're, you know, creating things for our brands or assets for our brands. So if you're looking at like, you know, our brand partners, what they currently have existing or what, you know, their competitors are doing or what's trending and what's doing really well. Like if you can spend some time just doing the work up front and researching those things, I think it's not as daunting to be creative all the time. It's like you already know what direction you're heading in, so you just got to keep putting in steps to that sort of goal.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because it can be tricky. Like when you're, like you said, looking at a blank canvas, like everything's possible, right? Which is it's too many options.
Yeah,
but yeah, like getting in, like like I said, doing research, kind of getting an idea for like, you know, some looks, some inspiration from what other people have done maybe, or things that you've seen, and being like, okay, how can you put your own spin on it, twist on it?
It's giving yourself constraints, because I think under constraints is when like actual creativity like really comes from, right? Like if you got to think outside of the box, but in order to do that, you have to define the box.
Yeah, 100%. To stay on the idea of creativity. I find it like, I'm amazed by how creative most people really are, but like a lot of people don't give themselves the permission to be creative or the permission to go into a creative field.
Yeah.
Like I think you touched on this before, but again, what was it that like kind of pushed you over that line to be like, yeah, I'm gonna try this out?
Yeah.
You know?
So like I kind of think it's like improv is a big thing of what I do. And
Good segue.
Yeah, thanks. It's like what I do. And so the same skills that we use sort of in improv on stage to do like really, great sets are really just like great life skills to have. And so like one of the biggest ones is like yes and, or you know what I mean? Like sort of going with your gut. All these things of kind of trusting your instinct and also doing things that challenge you and sort of accepting kind of what happens or the challenges that come with it. And so I was like indoctrinated with those beliefs at like such a young age that like it didn't really occur to me that I couldn't do whatever I wanted. You know what I mean? So I think like kind of having that mindset about challenges of like, yeah, like I'm going to figure it out, or yeah, I'll do it. Like I'll leap and see what happens. I think is just like how I am naturally. And I think improv kind of like heighten that or sharpen that even more. And now I'm like, yeah, like I'll try it. Let's see what happens. Like the worst that could happen is like it doesn't work out. You know what I mean?
Sure. Well, then let's
a very privileged thing to say, but I'm just saying, try something.
What's the worst that could happen? But no, and that like, I was literally, that's a great segue into talking about your theater group and your improv stuff that you're doing. So maybe we could start at the beginning of that, because that really
both my parents were murdered. I'm kidding.
Dun,
you gotta cut it again.
But yeah, like how did all that start? And you mentioned you're interested in that from an early age. Like
so I was 13 at the time where I first like found improv. Ooh,
I forgot to put the on-air sign.
Oh, sorry, guys.
That's okay.
I saw. I thought that was your car, but I wasn't sure. But I didn't see your car, and I was like, oh.
Ooh.
I don't know,
It's black, so maybe it's. I hope it's still there. No, you're good.
By the way, the light's not on.
I know, that's on me. That's on me.
Good
You
night.
too. All right, and we're back.
Great.
All right. So yeah, can you tell us a little bit about where your love of theater, improv kind of began, and kind of take us through that journey?
Sure. I was 13 at the time. And Comedy Sports, like I mentioned, is a international organization. So Buffalo had a Comedy Sports, and I think my family was looking for something to do, like on a weekend night, on a Sunday night. Actually, is when they did their shows. And so we like randomly went to a show, and I was like, oh, like this is funny, and I think I can do it. But I never like would have like, I don't know, pushed myself past that. I just went like every week, like I was going with my friends and like enjoying it. Until one day they were having like a level 1 class or something, and my mom physically dragged me to the class because I did not want to go. I was like, no, it's fine. Like, I know. And so she like forced me to go. She's like, I think it'll be good for you. And like from that very first level 1 class, like I loved it. I think 6 weeks into my class, they had auditions. And then, so I auditioned, the youngest person to ever like audition and make
Flex.
the team. Yeah, it's whatever. No big deal. But yeah, like I was, but it was intimidating at the time. Like I was 14. I think the next youngest person was like 25, 26 or whatever.
Wow.
So yeah, so it was like, I mean, I was with all adults, and I was doing professional improv shows, and I probably did, 1 to 2 shows a week every week until I, moved out here to Vegas. So from like, I think 2014, no, not 2014. I'm sorry. 2010 was my first show, like my first improv show. And then all the way up until 2018 when I moved here, I was performing twice a week. And so then I started my own show here, and it was like performing, weekly there too. So I've just been doing it a lot.
Wow. Okay. And so I'm sure everybody knows like what improv is. I think of like whose line is it anyway kind of thing. So there's really no script. You're kind of given a situation, and then you kind of just come up with entertainment on the fly.
Yeah. So my show, Comedy Sports, is competitive improvisational comedy. So we have 2 teams of improvisers who are playing games sort of against each other, and then the audience votes on which team they found more entertaining. So at the end of the show, there's like a winner of the game.
Does a winner get a prize?
Just bragging rights.
That's good enough. That's good enough.
Yeah. But it's fun. Like it's great. It's like high speed, very like quick thinking. The audience loves it. We're improvising songs and characters and, scenes. Like we're doing a lot all at once in this like 90-minute show. So it, keeps you on your toes for sure.
Do you ever get like stuck? Like you can't think of anything, or
I don't think I ever get stuck, but it's a great question. Like a lot of, level 1 like performers that I teach, or like people who are just getting into improv, because it's such a great life skill to have, even if you don't want to perform, if you just want to like speak better or, be more confident or make friends. Like it's a really great, skill or avenue to do those things. And a lot of people ask like, what do you do when you get stuck? And it's so funny because if you're stuck, you're probably in a scene or in a game and you're focusing on yourself, and that's like causing you to spiral. And so we always say, just, focus on your scene partner, or like, anything you can do to kind of get out of your head, and just kind of be in your body and be connected to your partner. Like that will automatically help you go forward. So I don't think I get too lost.
That's great advice.
Thanks.
Great advice. Do you ever get nervous in terms of performing in front of live audience?
So like I definitely like that butterfly-y feeling that you get when you're about to do something that is nerve-wracking. I think I just process it as excitement instead of nerves now because I've done it so much. Like we've done like huge shows for like 600 people. I've done shows for like an 11-person private event, right? Like, and like they're both nerve-wracking in like different ways, but I think it's like the mindset that you approach it in of like, God, like this is going to be fun and I'm excited just to like, I don't know, like utilize this energy that I'm feeling. Like it kind of gets you motivated to go out and do it. I think you just being nervous is cool because that means you care. You know what I mean?
Sure,
so I think as long as you approach with the mindset that you think you can succeed and do it, like the nerves are like a good sign.
Yeah, probably if you're not feeling anything, it's like you're not really.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It's like you're probably phoning it in a little bit.
Well, so do you have any like favorite bits or any favorite like exercises that you do? Like what's your favorite thing to do when you're improvising?
Oh, that's such a great question. I don't know. So we play games, right? So like we play like a lot of fun games. There's like a genre of game that we call justification games. So there's usually some sort of element that like is out of context, like written down, and then we have to justify why it makes sense. So one of my favorite games is called Text Line, where we get it's a team of 3 and 2 people get audience members' phones. And so the only lines they can say are text messages that those audience members have said. And then one person is the improviser can say whatever they want. Right. So now you have to make sense of all of these like crazy texts that like, have to like make sense of now the scene too. So that's a lot of fun. I have like one particular memory when I was like 17, I was like going to teach my first class to like high schoolers, and these 2 girls who were going to take the class signed up to like, or they like volunteered their phones or whatever. And so like I wasn't on phone. I was just like justifying it. And they were having a conversation about me. Like they thought I was cute or whatever. So like my scene partners are reading like, oh, like that Justin's so cute, blah, blah, blah. And like, it's like a distinct memory that like sticks out.
Oh, wow. And we were talking about like the kind of the sense of a team and community here at work. I imagine it's also similar with your theater group. And
yeah, absolutely. Like I think improv in general is like a pretty tight knit bunch, but I would say definitely in Vegas. I've seen a lot of different communities in a lot of different cities. I think what makes Vegas so unique is that, all local theater is very small here, and we're competing against large scale productions on the Strip.
MGM.
Yeah, Cirque du Soleil, like things like that. Like, and so I think we're already like, looking out for each other locally. Not that those shows like are bad or anything. Like they're great. I have friends that do them. Like they're phenomenal. But like just from a business perspective, like trying to advertise or trying to convince, a group of people to come see your show instead of the like, high end produced show, you know what I mean? Like it's a lot. And so I think like we're big fans of each other. And so, there are shows 3, 4, 5 nights a week sometimes. And so we'll all go to each other's shows. We'll hang out after. Like my closest friends are now my closest friends because we met doing improv, but our friendships transcend that. We're like just like a tight knit bunch and community that's also very welcoming of people who want to come and give it a try. Like we're pretty much anyone who comes in, we're like, yeah, please come stay, like hang out. You know what I mean? Like very welcoming. It doesn't seem like very cutthroat or like if you succeed that means I don't. Like we're very much like
kind of like LA kind of style.
Exactly.
Like everybody, it's a zero-sum game.
Yeah, yeah. Here like rising tides raise all ships. You know what I mean? So if it works for anyone, it'll probably trickle down other places.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Do you think that so can you talk a little bit about you opened your own theater here? What was that like? And by the way, how do you have enough energy and time to like do all these things?
I don't know. So yeah, when I moved here, I knew I wanted to start comedy sports. And so that was just like the show so much. So we were partnered with a couple other theaters that like we had a great run performing at, but we kind of quickly realized that the only way for us to kind of have the most control over our own show is to have our own venue. And so back in July, of 2022, we decided like we're going to open our own venue. And so we opened Mom's Basement Theater, and we've now become a place where not only can we, do our show reliably without being bumped, or if, there's a buyout, we have to like move our schedules around for that. We can do our show consistently. We can also open our doors to other improvisers, other performers who want to teach a class or a workshop or put on their own show. And it's become this nice little growing community hub. And so, yeah, like I don't know where I find the time, but I think I'm inspired by like what people can do there and like what I know we can offer the community. And that's what kind of keeps me going, is seeing how other people, want to come and utilize the space, or when people come and they say, oh, like that was such a great show, or it was so much fun here. Like I want to come back. Like that's what makes me motivated to like keep doing what I'm doing. Cause there are days where I don't. There are days, so many days where I'm like, I could just go home right now, but instead I have to like teach this class and update this website and the blah blah blah. But like just seeing what, seeing and both hearing what what we're offering and what we're doing is helping people. I can see it helping people. Makes me motivated to keep doing it.
Wow, that's amazing. And also like the passion, right? Like when you're really passionate about something, like you make the time.
Exactly, it's exactly that. Yeah, like yeah.
But it is a lot. I can only, some days when we leave here, like, we're like going through like a really busy day or week, and then it's like, oh, I got to go to the theater, and I'm like, man,
yeah,
how do you do that?
I mean, yeah. There's some insane days, but I think being able also to have a team there, that's super great. I'm partnered with my mom. Shout out, Mom.
Hey.
And Neil, he's a great guy. He's our like director of education and like booking and stuff like that. But having another team there that I can rely on if I am running late, or we have a production day here that I can't make it to a practice or make it to a show or something. Like I have great people who I can depend on to kind of cover me.
Yeah, I mean, having that support and like people that you can count on to help you out on those tough days is pretty invaluable.
Yeah.
Now, have you ever had an interest in like like traditional, I don't know if this is the right word, but like theater, like plays or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying yeah because I'm digesting the question, but the answer is no. It's so funny. This is like funny to me. I don't know why. Like, I don't consider myself like a theater person. Like, I found comedy sports. I found improv at a young age. But like, I never did like my high school plays growing up, or I never did like other like musicals or things like that. Like that was, I don't know. Like I do enjoy them. Like I do like them. But I'm not like a Broadway person. I don't go to a lot of like theatrical things. I would say like I would be interested to do something, especially locally, because a lot of the local theaters put on like really great performances, and I think it would challenge me. And I think, in order to grow, you need to step outside your comfort zone. So I think I would do something, more traditional for that experience, just to see what it's like. But like I never wanted to like, I don't know, be an actor or be a theater person. It's funny, like even like now, like I think when people hear you do improv, they're like, oh, so you must like want to be on SNL, like that's the goal, right? Or like you must want to be like a professional comedian or whatever. And I'm like, no, like what I'm doing now is what I'm happy to be doing. Like I see myself as like someone who can help grow the community here, and that's like where my passion lies. And also getting to perform and do great shows is like the cherry on top of that.
I mean, I think that more people should be supporting like their local theaters, like kind of like local creative, anything. Artists.
Yeah. There's always like local films, local productions, local, like that's where a lot of people, get their start. And like, for me, I would love it if like someone went on to make it big somewhere and said like, I got my start at Mom's Basement Theater. Like that was like the first, you know what I mean? Like that's way more exciting to me than me being like, I'm at the top, you know what I mean? It's not for me.
But you said like you don't have like your main end goal isn't to, like you said, get on SNL. It's just to keep growing the community and like you're sort of like.
Can you imagine if I get on SNL now and I'm
I didn't even want to be.
I don't know how it happened.
I wasn't even trying to do this.
How did it happen?
What had happened was.
I would say like I'm just like in it for the sense of community and like the relationships and like fostering talent. You know what I mean? Like not that I wouldn't, if that opportunity was presented to me, like I'd probably like try it, see what happens. But like it's not necessarily like I'm hustling to like make that an active goal, at least not right now.
Well, I think that's good because it takes the pressure off, right? Like you can just enjoy what you're doing and kind of like let it take you where it can take you. But going back to, so your mom dragged you into that first improv experience.
She'll tell you all about it.
I'd love to have that conversation. But she must have seen something in you that, you know, made her think like, oh, this might be the right kind of place for my son to do his thing.
Yeah.
Like what were you like at that early age?
I was one of those kids who like, I don't think I was a class clown, but I definitely like got a lot of like, Justin, like now's not a time to joke. You know what I mean? Like I got that a lot, even though like I was like a very like studious student, you know what I mean? Like I didn't act up. I never got in trouble or anything like that. Like if anything, like I was like the kid who was annoyed at the kid who was doing that in class. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But like at home with my family, like I think it was just like me and my best friend, we would like make up characters or make up games or like just, I don't know, just play. You know what I mean? Like that's what improv essentially is like you're playing. And I think as we get older, we're all taught to like not play or be more serious, or you know, we start to get picked on or bullied for the things that like, I don't know, inspire us in that way. And I found improv at a time where before I like got bullied, or before like that time where most people get bullied. So like I think I was able to just kind of like, I don't know, like not worry about it or not really care what other people thought. Like I was still kind of going to do it because it's what I wanted to do. And I think it just kind of snowballed from there.
Well, that's fortunate because I think like going back to what I was saying before, like I think a lot of people, and you know, I watch my kids, like I didn't teach them how to play. They just know how to play. And I think most people will kind of get that creativity or that playfulness smothered out of them by like, oh, you have to get a job and you have to do this.
Right.
And this. So like, you're fortunate that you didn't get that like beaten out of you.
It's true.
Age.
Like, and that's, I mean, I think that goes to kind of all of like people who are pursuing creative careers at some point. If you're doing it young or, you know, making the jump when you're older, like you're going to like run into people who are like, well, why would you do that? Or like, well, what's the plan? Or
how
what's
are you going to live?
B?
How are you going to
Exactly.
make money?
I remember when but like when I dropped out of biomedical engineering to pursue like game art and design, like my whole family is like, are you going to like, you know, you're going to be poor, you know, you're not going to like make it. Like, why would you do that? And I'm like, I don't know, like, I feel like that's what I want to do. So I'm going to do it. So I think like you kind of do have to like believe in yourself and know that people are going to dissuade you from pursuing something like that. But you know, if you work at it, like you can be successful.
What would you say to somebody who
quit? I'm kidding.
Quit before you
quit.
Your head. But like, let's say somebody might be watching this in like a small town or something like that might have like a local theater.
Move.
But it's like, move to the big city. But what kind of encouragement would you give to somebody that's like wants to go in that direction, like wants to do something more creative, but like maybe is putting blocks in their own mind or have been told by people like, don't do this or whatever.
I just think like, you know, so many people are going to oppose you or be like, you know, an obstacle for you pursuing your dream. Like you can't also be your own biggest obstacle, right? Like, especially if you're in a place where like, you know, you want to do something, you have a passion for something and, you know, the world is kind of telling you no, like you have to kind of double down and believe in yourself. And I think we all have situations in which like, you know, you have like responsibilities or things that you have to do, you know, before you can kind of pursue your passion. But kind of like what you said earlier, like you will just kind of make time for it. And if that time can't be, you know, immediate, like I would say like, don't give up because there's no age or no right time that you can like start doing it. I think as long as you know, keep that passion alive and like, when you find time for it and when you can make time for it, it'll eventually, if you keep going at it, you know, blossom into something bigger.
Yeah. And
just don't give up, I guess I would say.
Yeah. That's something I hear all the time, which is totally true. And also something that's been like resonating with me more as I'm trying new things is like, don't be too hard on yourself when you're starting out. You know what I mean? Like be compassionate with yourself. If you're starting something new, you're gonna suck.
Yes, let yourself be bad at something. That's but it's so true. And like take the pressure off. Like, you know, there's that like saying or whatever that you have to put your 10,000 hours in to be a master at something. And like
100%.
Your first 1,000 hours might still be bad. You know what I mean? But I think as long as it's really just like the dedication and the commitment to doing it. And I also think the way to like expedite the growth is to surround yourself with people who are doing what you want to do at a higher level than what you're doing at because very smooth. But that'll force you to grow again. Like if you're in a situation, you know, where like the kind of the pressure's on, you're surrounded by people who are super talented or have put in a lot of time, I should say, into like their craft, like it'll just by osmosis, you'll grow faster.
Yeah. And if you don't,
Don't be intimidated.
don't be intimidated. And also like, if it's something that, if you hear that inner voice in your mind is like, oh, I want to do this. I could do that, know? Like,
have your mom drag you.
Yeah, have your mom drag you, or what I do
Be your
is,
own mom, drag yourself.
well, what I do is I imagine myself as an old man, and like how much regret I would probably have knowing this. Like this is something that like no one told me I had to do this. I know I want to do it, but I stopped myself.
Yeah,
So
that's what I'm saying. Like that would be so disheartening.
That would be the worst
right?
tragedy, right?
No one even stopped you. You stopped yourself. Yeah.
So yeah, don't stop yourself.
Don't stop yourself.
Get out there,
Drag
try
yourself.
stuff. Yeah, drag your ass to that whatever that thing is, and just keep after it.
Yeah.
And like you said, surround yourself with people that are further down the line that can, that hopefully can give you some tips so you don't, make mistakes. But just know you're going to make mistakes.
Exactly.
And when they happen, like, I remember when I started out in the film field, I put so much pressure on myself, and I had this like failure's not an option sort of thing, which is just bonkers.
It's so true, and it's funny. Like in improv, we're taught to embrace failure. You know what I mean? Like we're really taught, like especially like the type of comedy like we do. Like a lot of the funny comes from not getting it right. You know what I mean? Like if you can kind of approach it with that mindset of like, like okay, and now I'm gonna try again. Like it's such not a big deal that we make it a big deal. Failure in general.
Yeah. Now, how would you describe like the differences between being on stage in front of a live audience versus being on set for like a video project or something that's like filmed?
You know what's so funny is I feel like on stage we have no script. We don't have a plan really. Like we just have like the parts that like the connection that we've like practiced because we have all these shows together, right? And we know like the game, how the game is played, but we don't know what we're gonna say or what we're gonna do or what the suggestion is gonna be and stuff like that. And I feel like the production set is the exact opposite, where we try to plan everything as much as possible because of course like on a production set there's gonna be things that you can't account for, but you want to try to account for everything that you can account for so that way you're prepared when those situations come up. But that skill I think is essential in both places, right? To be able to react quickly when something comes up that you weren't expecting. Because like in both places are going to be something that you couldn't have accounted for and you now have to kind of just go with it or turn a negative into a positive or things like that.
Well, I think that's, and we kind of mentioned it at the top of the show, but like, I think that's why you're, so effective on the set. And like, whenever I'm, for all the projects I've worked on since being here, like, I could tell that right away. Like, how to like pivot quickly and, not let like some little thing that goes wrong, like scuttle the whole show.
I don't think I'm not someone to get like lost in the details. Like, I think I'm good at like taking a step back and seeing like the big picture and like, great, like it might feel like this, but I feel like I'm good at like connecting the dots of like kind of how to get there. You know what I mean? That's actually what I enjoy. I found, through working closer with your team is like, I enjoy the planning of production has been like a great like skill to like practice and learn here, which has been really great. Like I do think like, I don't know, I like being that person. I like being able to like adjust and also like keep the vibe going. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's so important because sometimes we get so like serious and so like pressurized.
Yeah.
It's nice to just have like a goofy moment and just like shake it off.
Because
at the end of the day, we're making pictures. Like it's not like open heart surgery and like people's lives are on the line, in a kind of serious way. So we're really kind of like, I consider myself very privileged to just do what I love to do day in and day out. It may not be like making the next Marvel or Batman movie, which is like something I'd love to do one day, but like just doing anything, like telling a human story, using cameras, using gear and like some skills and working with other creative people is like, what could be better?
Yeah, and I think like, because I think that happens a lot too, where it's like people are like, oh my gosh, cut that out. But I think a lot of people are sort of like afraid, or like they have this high level goal of like, I do want to make the next Marvel movie, or I want to be like, I want to be here already. And like, I think there's a lot of growth, like this journey to appreciate like how to get to that dream is also really important. Like, I don't necessarily know that like you might be sitting somewhere and you're like, wow, like they make stuff for like e-commerce and that doesn't sound super interesting to me, but like you're using the skills that you need and kind of like need to develop in order to like reach that dream. And also like I feel like you do find a way to incorporate that passion or incorporate like what you love about this level 10 dream. You incorporate it into like the commercials or like the video ads that we make here, right? So I think it's not looking down on like where you have to go to kind of get to where you need to get to.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly how I look at like I was talking with Chase the other day, like exactly what you just said, like making ads for Amazon e-commerce products and stuff like that isn't my ultimate end game.
Right.
But the amount of things I'm learning, it's all going to relate to stuff I want to do later. Like I'm just stacking skills for when the day that I need it, you know what I mean, in my little utility belt. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a good approach, like especially when you're starting out and you might be doing some very abstract things that are like way far away from where you fantasize about going. But I think at least for me, it's been helpful to kind of keep that perspective.
It's like a Karate Kid moment where you're like, God, why am I doing this? And then you're like, oh my gosh, this is why I did it.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. Mr. Miyagi would be very proud.
Yeah, he was also a hero. On a set.
For the improv, is there any improv games we could play right now?
Oh my God. This is so bad. I don't even know if you'll put this in. Because like in order to promote like what we do a lot, we'll like go like, oh God, I've done so many like news segments, like local news segments of like, we're a theater, we're doing improv. Can we play an improv game? And they always go so poorly.
Okay, so maybe we won't do that. You'll have to check out the improv.
Yeah, buy a ticket. You know what I mean? Support local art. momsbasementtheater.com. Come see us. I'll teach you for money.
Yeah, tell everybody, because I think this is a good segue to kind of end this episode. But I want everybody to know about your theater, Mom's Basement Theater. Mom's Basement Theater. I apologize.
Yeah, no, you're good. It's long. We didn't think it out super well.
But yeah, look to the camera and just tell everybody, how they can find out more about it and come see your theater.
Yeah, so like Aaron said, we're based in Las Vegas, Nevada. You can see us at momsbasementtheater.com. It has all of our shows. We do a lot of different classes and workshops and sort of all different types of performing arts, from comedy to writing to sketch and burlesque. Like we do a lot of stuff there at Mom's Basement. If you're looking to see the show I described earlier, Comedy Sports, you can go to cszlasvegas.com. And if you're listening from a different city, like I said, Comedy Sports is a international organization. So there's probably one close to your city. You can go to czworldwide.com and find a Comedy Sports near you.
Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, go check it out. And, you got to support your local creative people.
Can we do a follow-up episode where you come to like a practice and play improv games and we like record?
I would love that.
I would do that.
That would be a great episode. Yeah, that would be some great content. I would love to.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I'm in 100%. Well, Justin, thank you so much for joining me today. This was a great podcast. We talk all day long, but I feel like this was a cool way for us to talk about really the stuff that we're really passionate about. And so thank you so much for your time. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Please tune in next time to Heroes on Set.
Heroes on set.
Yeah, we're almost there. We almost have a jingle.
I should write the jingle.
Would you want to? And
I
can record
no
it.
skill, but I would do that.
Does anybody play music here?
Anyone? NJ plays a guitar.
NJ plays guitar. Doesn't Skylar like DJ?
Yeah, he wants to. Yes, I'm sure we could figure it out. Long story short, I have a ukulele, I have a saxophone, I can play the trombone.
You heard it here first, folks. We're gonna make this jingle in-house. And
be kind.
It may be very weird, but we got to start somewhere. All right, thanks everybody.
We'll
see you next time.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Woo!